Hello again, everyone. It's Adam Caplan here for Inside the Birds, and this is part two of my notes feature. Just some thoughts on this one. This is the second half of the first round pick, 17 through 32. You could hear this or see this, however you want to consume the show. And don't forget about our mock draft show. Myself, Jeff Mosher, and Andrew DeCecco did on Monday morning, which is available. And I know a lot of people are listening to that, so we appreciate it. And this show today, picks 17 through 32. I'll kind of take you through the thought process, not only of what I've heard or what I know, but what I like to do is I like to ask teams that go against them. They were on the schedule last year or in that same division, rival teams, because they look at their opponent's rosters, they look at their divisional opponent rosters, and just to get an idea of how they see them in addition to the own teams, their own team, seeing what their needs are and potential moves and so forth as I know them. By the way, I will be on SportsGrid on Thursday and Friday night, their coverage of the NFL draft, all through it. And check me out on social media, is I'll retweet it so you can see the times. And love doing those shows, the draft shows with them. I've done them for a number of years. By the way, you could watch it on YouTube live. You could also see it on any over-the-air network, and also they have their channel on Sirius XM, so check that out. So before we get started here, real quick, congratulations to my friends at Stretch Zone. They opened their new location earlier this week in Warrington, PA. Do what I did almost 4 years ago. I got my free 30-minute, no obligation free stretch. I walked in. I happened to be in the area, and Dave Spadaro from the Eagles told me about it, and I went in, and I've been hooked ever since. I feel so good. It getting stretched. I go twice a week, and the cool thing is now that no matter where you are in the country, you have now system-wide access. You don't have to go in like your local area. So if you're traveling like I was to visit my mom, who's 95 years old, she has a house in Palm Beach, so I visited her there, and I was able to use my membership there. So check that out. Get it. There's no obligation. No obligation. You could get it at stretchzone.com to sign up. You could do it in person at your local branch, or you can call them by phone, StretchZone and stretchzone.com. All right, let's get started. So I alluded to this in the first show that I did here of breaking a 1 through 16. I alluded to and kind of hinted at the Bengals, and this has got to be a big draft for them. They've got to solve this problem on their offensive line. Okay, this is protecting Joe Burrow. They've done a bad job of it. I know he's a great athlete and great quarterback, and he's been able to mostly overcome it, but he gets hurt a lot. They got to protect him. They also need to rebuild their defensive line. We know Trey Hendrickson wants a new deal. He's an older player. Sam Hubbard retired suddenly, so they need help there. They need edge help. They need D-tackle help in a big way. That's probably their number one need. They need depth at corner. They need nickel. I just wish, though, they could build their offensive line because it's been a problem for many years. You can't keep asking Joe Burrow to run it for his life, so to speak. So if a guy like Kelvin Banks is there, take him. He could be the best player on the board. I know Derek Harmon is a guy that people would like. Talked about it. To me, he goes later in the first round, but it's about time they addressed it. Their offensive line. And by the way, I'm looking forward to seeing Al Golden, the former Temple head coach, a longtime college assistant, and he's been a head coach. He's also been assistant in the National Football League. He's now their new D coordinator. And Lou Anarumo lost his job simply because they, unfortunately, for a lot of the season, their defense, which was once really good, was really not competitive at times. Under Anarumo, he was fired, and he's now with the Colts, and hopefully he could revive his career there. Let's move on to 18. Last year in my mock that I did for Pro Football Network, I put Byron Murphy there, and that's who they wound up taking. I really felt last year that though they had some D tackles, Murphy, they needed a younger guy. They're still older there, by the way, when you look at Seattle's situation at D tackle. Leonard Williams is amazing. He turns just 31. It seems like he should be like 40 years old, but no, he just turns 31 in a couple months. Jaron Reed is up there. This guy's amazing. A 2016 second round pick. He's still playing. And so, yeah, they could certainly use another defensive tackle. DeMarcus Lawrence near the end of his career. They've got enough edge rushers, but the problem is Nwosu. Uchenna Nwosu, good player, has been hurt a lot. We mentioned Lawrence, who's been hurt a lot. He's near the end of his career. Boy Mafi's really good. Derek Hall's not been quite what they thought he would be. They don't need to draft an edge. But the big one for me, for Seattle and John Schneider, their great general manager, folks, they got to get their offensive line right. It's not been right. It's not been good in a number of years. A corner, I can't believe what they've gotten out of Josh Jobe. That surprised me. I never saw that coming. But they still need another corner. But to me, there are plenty of offensive linemen they could take here. This is where the conversation would start with Gray Zabel. Offensive line coaches I've talked to around the NFL tell me, though he's 6'6" and he played tackle in college, he projects to play guard and also center. Two coaches told me that. And by the way, you could make the argument that Zabel will be better than what they have at those positions. So keep an eye on him. But they could go in a number of ways here for Seattle. They don't need a receiver. And by the way, they could use some depth, but because they're going to go heavy 12 personnel, they're no longer an 11 personnel team. Ryan Grubb was fired. Did a good job, but he's not a run game guy. Mike McDonald, their head coach, wants to run the football just like his predecessor did, Pete Carroll. So that one of the things they have to do is they got to block better up front. So offensive line, to me, has also got to be a big consideration here. Let's go to 19 with the Buccaneers and talking to other teams that played the Bucs last year. They felt if they could protect, they could throw in the Bucs. The word around the league is that the Bucs are not very good at corner. I would agree with that. Yeah, they need to get younger at inside backer. To me, the value is at corner here. Barron, the Texas corner. Now, I know some people have said safety. I'm told teams are really not looking at him at safety, though he's played it and can play it. He's either an outside corner or a nickel. He's not the biggest guy in the world, but he's very competitive, feisty, runs well enough. Conversation should start here for Barron and really Will Johnson if he makes it to them. But the only problem with him is he's more of a zone corner. He's not comfortable in man. Todd Bowles will play a higher percentage of man some years. Some years he's not. He's more zone. Depends with what he has. Like Bill Belichick, if you go back 25 years or so, his career with the Patriots in particular, Bill would play more man coverage depending on the talent that he had. Of course, he had personnel control with the Patriots. So to me, though, if you're going to go, you want to have with Todd Bowles, you want to have the ability to play man coverage. And again, he's had some years he's played a lot of zone, a high percentage of zone. But to me, if Will Johnson's there, unless they're going to play high percentage of zone, it's not going to work. It's not that they need more edge rushers. They need an upgrade. They need a big-time edge rusher. And I don't know that there would be one there. Let's go to 20. This is, to me, where Omarion Hampton, I don't know see how they pass him up. They don't have a starting running back. Now, I'm told from a couple personnel people that I trust in the NFL, the only thing with Omarion Hampton is whether he could be a bell cow back. Yes, he's more explosive than Genty, but Genty's more of a bell cow. Sean Payton will run the football. Now, he's shown the willingness to have a committee. He did it with Alvin Kamara some years. He's done it. He did it with Denver. Hampton, yeah, I mean, you have to make a decision if you're Denver, whether you're willing to take a guy that, can he play all three downs? Yes, but how much volume can he handle at this level? That's the question there. D tackle's a need for them. Inside backer they get later, safety and tight end. Evan Ingram, they paid him. I know there were some rumors about maybe interest in Carson Wentz. You could forget about that with Evan Ingram. That's not happening. So that's that for Denver. Pittsburgh is fascinating because they're a heavy 12 personnel team. I know people still want them to draft receiver. What point would that like? Why would you do it early? Roman Wilson will be their 3. He'll be their slot receiver. Okay, that's really the way they drafted him. I know they thought he could be like a Tyler Lockett type because you could play him inside or outside, but with Metcalf and Pickens is still on the roster for this season, Roman Wilson's going to be their 3. Calvin Austin, they're 4. Now, you could use Wilson outside, but he's more of an inside receiver. They need a quarterback. We know that. I get the feeling, and I know that this front office didn't draft Kenny Pickett, but they know how the miss on Pickett set them back, and Russell Wilson not working out. I just don't see them reaching for a quarterback. I really don't. To me, Hampton's the pick if he's there. We'll see what Denver does. Corner. Yes, it's clearly a need for the future. They could get away with it with Darius Slay this year. That's why they signed him for 1 year at $10 million. Joey Porter's obviously entrenched opposite him. You know what's interesting? Brandon Eccles should be their nickel. My understanding is the Eagles had some interest in him, and I'm told the tape is really good last year on Eccles, very quietly. Did a good job. I know he could play inside or outside, but from what I understand, he'll be their nickel, barring something unforeseen. And they have other guys who could do it, but they think he could do that. They could also look at D tackle here. They have enough players, but remember, Cam Hayward is amazing, but they certainly have to look uh, to eventually replace him. And then quarterback again, maybe second round, depending on whether they have maneuverability. But the bottom line is they have needs. They got to get quarterback right. They cannot go in the season with what they have now. We all know that. The veteran trade market is also a possibility for them. Let's go to 22. Chargers need young edge rushers. They're just not young enough there. James Pierce makes a ton of sense here. I know there are character issues there. The beauty's in the eye of the beholder there. He's not the biggest guy in the world. If you're looking for a power edge rusher, he's not that. He's explosive, gets upfield. Nick Scorton is a bigger guy. I could see them looking at Pierce or Scorton here, depending on what they want. Generally, when you're Jim Harbaugh or you're the Chargers, you're probably based on their scheme, and Jesse Minter's their D coordinator. You're probably looking with an edge that's got more size. And let's not forget, Khalil Mack is way up there. He's near the end of his career. They kept Bud Dupree, will be their third edge rusher. Tuli Tuipulotu is really a good young pass rusher. They need another guy there, no question about it. Corner to me is their biggest need. I would say this. I would put corner above edge as their biggest need. They're both needs for the future and currently, but more currently it's corner. There's no question about it. And they also need D tackles. Let's go to Green Bay. Let's not forget their receiver situation. Watts has come back from a torn ACL. Dobbs is on the final year of his rookie deal. Luther Burden will go somewhere between 15 and 30. This is a spot. Luther Burden, I'm told by multiple receiver coaches, love his run after the catch. One of the best run after the catch receivers for this draft. Route running needs to improve. This is a good pick for them. I like him there. I really do like Luther Burden here. The corner, yes. Jair Alexander, hard to trade him. This also has to be, they have to look hard at that position here. Let's go to Minnesota. You know, it's interesting. Lewis Cine, my understanding was Brian Flores didn't really want him. He didn't think he fit. What I'm told there, Cine came back well from his injury. It was a compound fracture. He's now with Philly. Buffalo, actually, I'm told, worked Cine out on the practice squad at linebacker, but the Eagles are going to use him at safety, from what I understand. The needs currently are corner and safety. They could go get a veteran quarterback. They'll do. They were in on Flacco. Told it was actually for Flacco, Minnesota, and Cleveland. Bottom line is with Minnesota, Malachi Starks makes a lot of sense here. They need depth. They need a player of the future to eventually replace Harrison Smith. Malachi Starks, very smart football player, makes a lot of sense here. Let's go to 25. It's the Texans here. This is where the conversation has to start very hard for Matthew Golden. Now, yes, they need a left tackle for the future. Ken Robinson's a Band-Aid. You can look at left tackle here. Receiver, explosiveness. Matthew Golden makes a ton of sense. D tackle, yes, they need to get younger there. But Matthew Golden, staying in the state of Texas, would make a lot of sense here. Let's go to the Rams at 26. They're very weak at corner and inside backer. They've patchworked it at inside backer for years. They've gotten away with it. They're not getting away with it at corner. To me, I take the best available corner. I know they've gone the cheap route at inside backer. But bottom line is they've got to solve the cornerback problem. If you want to compete against teams that can throw the football, if you want to win a Super Bowl, you got to be better there. Let's go to Baltimore. I give Ronnie Stanley credit. He revived his career, got paid for it. So left tackle is no longer a need. Guard is an absolute need. They're not good enough there. There are plenty of guys they could look at in this area at guard. To me, they're like 3 or 4 guys. Inside backer, they need some competition. Opposite Roquan Smith, who's a stud, but they need help. They need help for him. Edge rusher too. They could use some younger players there. Receiver, just depth. Let's go to 28. The biggest need on their football team is edge rusher. They need more of them. They don't have enough of them. They saw that in the playoffs. Washington took advantage of it. Yeah, they could use a guard. Christian Mahogany. I know there's some people around the league think that he's just not a starting guard. Could be a good backup. But they could get that later if they want depth or competition or someone to take his job. They need edge rushers. In fact, if I'm them, I'd come out with two here. Corner is a need, but it's not a major need. They can go with a corner here, but to me, they go with edge rusher. They got to take the best available edge rusher at 28. Ezaraku is a good picker. There's some good edge rushers here. Donovan Ezaraku is a good football player. This is around the area where you should go out of Boston College. He's not the longest guy in the world, but he's explosive, very, very productive. Washington, see, the thing is they have depth, but they don't have an elite edge rusher. Edge rushers got to be concerned later on, but they need it. They need speed at running back, and they need speed at receiver. A corner, they could certainly use that. Someone to eventually replace the ageless Bobby Wagner. Guard, they definitely need it. Sam Cosby coming back from an ACL. Now, right tackle, I think we're probably going to eventually see Brandon Coleman at right tackle. Why? When you look at Washington's situation on their offensive line, let's examine it. That's really, I don't know how the hell they got away with what they had last year. They traded for Tunsil, so he's their left tackle. They knew Coleman wasn't a left tackle. Andrew Wiley took a pay cut. He's on the last year of his deal. He's just not a good enough athlete. Coleman's a better athlete. Cosme, when he comes back, will be a right guard. Unfortunately, he got hurt during the playoffs. But he's a future star. Obviously, he's going to be there a while. And Allegretti, they like his toughness. And Biotish, they could get out of his contract after the season, but he's clearly their center. So to me, it's really get more athletic at right tackle. Get more athletes. Get more athletes. It's and then I think later in the draft, get a high-end edge rusher. Look, they've got Wise, who's a nice player. Dietrich Wise. Armstrong's a good player. Cleveland Farrell has done a nice job. He's kind of surprised me. He's not a starting quality end, but he plays the run well. He's not a bad backup. Give the guy credit. He's become a player after Washington, the Raiders reached for him many years ago. But Wise, by the way, is on a one-year deal. Farrell's on a one-year deal. Dorrance Armstrong on his contract. The guaranteed money's up after the season. So yeah, they need more edge rusher help, and they need to get more athletic on the offensive line. Buffalo, it's real simple. They have a lot of edges. They don't have a high-end edge rusher. They need a lead edge rusher. They got to look at that. As Rocco, if he makes it, they got to look at him. They know that school very well, from what I understand. Trey Amos is a zone corner to me. Though he could play both. He's more of a zone corner. That's what they play in Buffalo. They need better corners. They need help there. I know they extended the kid from Villanova, but they need more corners. And then it doesn't have to be early, but they need speed at receiver. That's the one thing that they lack. They've not had speed at receiver in a long time, and they need it. Kansas City, if he makes it to them. Now, the knock on Colston Loveland is he a three-down tight end? I'm told he's a willing blocker, but there are questions whether he's three-down tight end. He's explosive. This would be a great pick. They cannot turn down Colston Loveland. Now, two tight end coaches told me that they seem to both agree that he's definitely a willing blocker. He just needs to get better at it. Yes, they need D tackles. Yes, they need offensive linemen. But to me, I take a tight end here. If Loveland makes it, I don't think he makes it. If he does make it to them, they got to take him. And then let's go to 32 in Philly. In my first mock draft, my audio mock draft, I put Ezaraku in there. I don't think he makes it. Walter Nolan's a guy we've talked about inside the Birds for like 2 months. He's a guy I just don't see him making it. We know that there are some knocks on him, on his character. I don't think it's nothing off the field bad, like criminal or anything like that. It's just take care of personal business, maturity, and stuff like that. I don't see him making it anywhere to 32. I just don't. Now, with Dallas Goedert, this would be the drafted tight end. They're going to have to do it early if they want one. Loveland, if he gets close, is a guy to consider potentially trading up for. But again, Goddard's just a better blocker. I really, by the way, this Godert thing, I'd be very surprised if he stays. I'm not ruling it out. We reported this on Inside the Birds a while back. He was given permission to seek a trade. The Eagles want to move his cash. It's zero to do with the cap, folks. It's cash. Think cash. If we could teach you anything on Inside the Birds, of the 200 things we've talked about in the last couple of years, it's about cash with clubs, not cap. Cap is a consideration, but it's minor compared to cash. The Eagles want to move over that $14 million in cash, but the Eagles have plenty of depth. They don't have a starter for the future. So that's something that they have to look at. We'll see if they're able to trade him during the draft. All right, folks, we appreciate you watching me today, or whether you're watching or listening. So we look forward to our coverage. Watch our shows with Greg Cosell. We drop the guard stuff on Tuesday, Wednesday. We're going to drop the last show with Greg in terms of pre-draft, and that's the tackle intel. Next week, by the way, if you're a Patreon member, patreon.com/InsideTheBirds, we're going to do, can't wait to do this, we're going to do our final one of the season, at least the draft season with Greg, our live stream with Greg, next Tuesday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern. Also on Patreon, when you sign up, if you're a tier 2 or tier 3, sign up for no commercials. And by the way, you get the shows earlier than the public does, and a lot more. Patreon.com/InsideTheBirds. So check it out, InsideTheBirds.com for Andrew DeCecco, and check everything out this week that we provide for you. Thanks for watching, and we'll speak to you later this week.